Hello. Sup? I don't know let's start. I don't know if or when I'm ever gonna freaking learn, but I tried to record the episode again on that same app again that fucked up last time. So just got half an hour in, it happened again, so I'm not using that again. I'm probably gonna freaking delete it soon. Such as just good for everything else. Anyway, hello. Welcome. Good evening. Hello. How are you? Um, I'm just going to go back to the beginning. I really want to try to get through this. Obviously, I've been trying to get this out for a few days now, and it's exhausting because I keep having to go through all the stuff again because all this new stuff keeps happening, and like it's just a lot. So I'm determined to get this done now. Okay, so this one is called Not Suspicious, Not Forgotten. So it's primarily I guess, motivated by Grand Final weekend, which has just been the history of the long weekend. Obviously, if you've noticed on the media or through politicians and stuff, that it's a high time of year for abuse, family violence, domestic violence, um, so, and for women and children primarily, and this year definitely doesn't seem to have been any different. I don't have any solid stats yet, because they take their sweet effing time. But we got a few, obviously, events that occurred over the last few days, and then I've got some historic stuff to go through as well. Um, but yeah, primarily it'll be from probably previous years and stuff. But I'm not going to go too far back unless there's like specific examples because that would just defeat the purpose. It's really just to give you a bit of a brutal idea of sort of why it's being raised so much at the moment. Excuse me, sorry. Okay. So anyone in Hobart would probably know by now that there was a 33-year-old woman found dead in a rivulet on Friday. It was at first it was labelled as suspicious because there was a man walking his dog passerby who found her um, half naked in a lake, dead, with clear trauma of some sort to her body, like um, I guess assault trauma, however you might say that. And then like her swag and stuff was nearby in the lake. We don't know if she was homeless or if she was just camping or what. It's not relevant. It's basically they said it was suspicious. Understandably, they started looking around, trying to find any CCTV footage, talked to neighbours, and couldn't find anything that would clearly point towards a person. Like they didn't have evidence because, I mean, like, let's face it, we would have heard it as well. But there was obviously nothing concrete found, and that is why they then decided a couple of days later to change it to no suspicious circumstances, um, which they've obviously gotten away with many times before, but because the media jumped on the first part, um, from the passerby, and ran that about the state she was found in, to then go, oh, no suspicious circumstances, people are kind of calling bullshit, and I love that. A lot of comments on the story that are just like, no, like what, you can't do a backflip like that, or if they're not suspicious, then what the hell, basically. um we probably understand a lot of the time no suspicious circumstances means like suicide. So um I mean, there are probably some opinions out there of people that think she maybe somehow did that to herself. Maybe she slipped and fell. Again, like, doesn't explain the trauma to her body and the fact she was half naked. Um, but more so, I'm saying that with confidence because I know that she was raped and murdered. I don't know who by. I don't know if it was an intimate partner. I don't know if it was a random. I don't even know if it was a guy, but we can only assume at this point. But there was clear signs of trauma, um, and yeah, I've got a very reliable source who's confirmed that it was rape and murder. So love to know how that's not suspicious circumstances. Bit of a backflip. So that clearly, as you can see, cut out. Apologies for that. We are going to get through this. I'm just going to keep going. So, um, I'm going to find my spot. I will keep going. Where the hell? Notes. Please hold. Okay, here we go. Okay. Yes, so the next part was just about in Brisbane, there was, I think it was Brisbane, there was a 60-year-old woman and her, or 60-year-old woman and a male found dead in a suspected murder-suicide as well. And that's, that's obviously a suspected murder-suicide. Sorry, my brain. It wasn't the guy's house. So whoever was there with her, she lived there with her husband, but it was like a different man. So I'm not really sure what the story is behind that, but that's all I know is that suspected murder suicide. And then you may have heard today as well what was released. Jet, last year? Yeah, shouldn't have done that. Hello. Yeah. Sorry, everyone. Smile. You're famous. Okay. Okay, maybe go away. Oh, loud when you shake your ears. Anyway, yeah, so today, now I've lost my spot. Good job, dog. Sorry. Okay. Yes. And then this morning there was a story that dropped about a doctor, yeah, a doctor and her 8-year-old daughter who were found dead after she sent a timed email message to like a work colleague or something, which caused a welfare check to be done by the police, and then they found her and her daughter in a very highly probable murder suicide. So there's definitely a lot going on. Be weird that there's like a couple of murder suicides over the same weekend in Australia, but what, yeah, like there's just actually a lot that we don't know that happens that we don't hear about. And then there was also, I think, in the same 24 hours, there was in the Northern Territory, there was a woman killed by her partner as well. So that was all within, like, I think it was a 24-hour period or something over the long weekend. So they're not isolated tragedies. There's a pattern, obviously, which is why it was sort of raised a lot in the media, particularly, I guess, this year. So the next part was just going to be about Tassie's stats. They always seem to look small. So like you'll notice with like Jet. Sorry. I'm so sorry if you can like hear very clearly like slobber chops right now. Stop puppy. Okay, so Tassie is sort of like when you hear stuff about like family violence stats in Australia, you never really hear about Tassie, and it's because our numbers are technically not many, like one or two a year or something that they reported as. That's reported ones, but um, if they obviously if they're looking at the rest of the country, which have much higher populations, like we're going to look tiny and probably not be worth mentioning. But let's just remember, like per capita, we actually have a very high percentage. And I'm currently doing like a graduate diploma where I've got a lot of like I've seen there's some raw data on a website that I'll track down and pop in the notes. And that's got some real hard hitting stuff. Like it's quite disturbing, really, when you break it down. It takes a bit to kind of narrow down to the parts that you need to because there's a lot of data there. for each state as well, but I shockingly found that in a lot of cases, we're actually much higher in our stats than even places like Northern Territory, which are obviously quite high with the communities being impacted up there. We actually are overtaking them in a lot of things, so that's quite upsetting. Uh, so there was, I just want to mention, like with like the Tassie, I guess, I don't know, there's so much going through my head all the time that needs to be addressed, but like the consistency, I guess, of people ending in statistics when they've tried their best. And so there was like pretty well known at the time in 2015, this woman, Olga Newbert, who asked the police for an order for protection and they refused. And then 3 weeks later, she was murdered by her estranged husband. Um, and that was a case where they literally said, no, there's no need for an order. And then she died. So there's that type of extreme case. Do you have to pee or something? Is that what's going on? Okay. I'm just going to pause and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Oh my God, I swear to God, my life's so chaotic when I'm trying to freaking record. Okay, so Olga, we just talked about. So then the next part was going to be regarding like the Tassie sort of trademarky, I guess, GPS monitoring system, which they seem to just kind of have been known for rolling out, I think, first maybe. But anyway, I need to talk about it. So uh, it's sort of seen as like a huge safety net in a lot of regards, which it would be. Uh, it's not automatic though, so like this is, I suppose, more just for awareness for people so that you know, like when people are arrested or whatever, like they don't. This is regarding really the order. So if they breach the order, for example, in New South Wales, who've like definitely got the right idea, they will almost always arrest someone for a breach of an order. So none of this summons bullshit. And then it's difficult to get bail, but if they do get bailed, then they get put on a monitor so that there's at least some sort of safety net. Whereas down here, they don't. You're lucky if they get arrested, and then if they do, they'll just get bailed anyway without usually a monitor, is my understanding from most people that I talk to, except for a select few, which seem to really kind of be targeted straight away, even. Maybe even like before breaches occur. So I don't know, it just seems a bit sus to me. But so like I know that there's like a 4 week period where they say that it's got to be trialed or something before it can be done. Don't know what the hell happens in that 4 weeks. Why it takes 4 weeks at all, I'm not sure. But anyway, down here, the police can recommend it, the family violence unit can recommend it. So in my case, it was recommended before I was even aware. And it doesn't really matter if it's recommended because it comes down to the magistrate. So that's why I'm guessing that the potential like um, gap between being told this is going to happen and then it like literally the opposite happening is potentially like the lawyers that they're getting when they're in there to get them out. They probably are negotiating. That's the only real thing that I can think of. I don't know, obviously, the inner workings of what happens behind closed doors, but you know. So the reason that I wanted to raise that was to make people aware that it's definitely not a given. It's actually quite difficult in some cases versus others for whatever reason. And then I wanted to explain the other end of the spectrum regarding it being used in the wrong ways. So my late friend Jen, who died a few years ago, a couple of years ago, I think maybe nearly, I don't even know, 22, 23, maybe 23. Sorry, I'm trying to, anyway. She was misidentified as an aggressor by her ex, who was actually an officer as well. And she was forced to wear a monitor without any proof of anything. And she basically ended up trying to get out of the state with her baby, and did for a little bit. And the state that she went to were very onto letting her know that she was definitely a victim of systemic abuse, which I suppose like would have been validating after so long of not feeling that way. She went through absolute freaking hell. And then tragically, she somehow, even in another state, got forced to come back anyway. And before she could get arrested again, because that happened multiple times without cause. Anyway, before that happened, she killed herself. So she was probably one of the best people that I knew in the world and an incredible mother. So for her to have done that, I can't even like explain how lost and like what would have led her to that. All I know is that they were essentially like coming for her like the next day or something, like they'd given her the heads up. So she, took herself out of the equation. Very, very, very unlike anything that I ever thought would ever happen. Like I was worried for a little bit here and there, like I really was. And there were times where I was like, I don't know how you're doing it. But I just like for it to get to that level was, yeah, would have. Anyway, I don't want to go on about that. I just want to say that that's why I've got experience of both ends of the spectrum, obviously. So like I don't need people coming for me and saying like, I'm all for one side and not the other. That's not how it works. I know that it's not black and white. I know that there are stories of people that are misidentified. A lot of stories actually. I was just talking to a counsellor today who confirmed like there's absolutely a lot of misidentified stories, and particularly in Tassie. So they really need to be looking at that a bit more, in my opinion. Anyway, and then there's obviously a lot of cases where people probably should be given consequences, and then they are just not given consequences. In fact, sometimes they're just given more freedom. But moving on. Um, yeah, I just like, if I'm hearing it, and I'm hearing it from a couple of people, so there's probably a lot of people that just get told ultimately when there's, especially when you try to question something like, well, why are you doing it this way, or why have you not listened to what I've said up to this point when I literally told you this is what was going to happen, etc. And oh well, you've got an order, so like you just need to move on with your life. Not really how it works. It's not really a case of get over it and move on. It's not really how family violence works. Just FYI for anyone thinking that. And I've just got, I wanted to quickly mention, yeah, so this is a couple of stats relating to that. 1 in 4 women in Australia are killed, that are killed by partners, had a current order at the time that they died. In New South Wales, 23% of partner homicides happened with a protection order in place. 23%. That's just New South Wales. And in Victoria, last year alone, so 2024, there was 65,000 breaches of orders, family violence orders. Just to give you an idea, that's one state. So orders and devices, like more so devices, obviously, like more able to hold people accountable. But orders are just pieces of paper. They mean fuck all. And I will tell you that for like speaking to lots of people and hearing their horrific stories, like, yeah. They're just paperwork and plastic at the end of the day. So without enforcement and consequences actually being given, um, yeah, let's not tell people to just relax and move on with their lives when you've really got no freaking idea. And it's really dangerous to say that to someone as well, because if they let their guard down and then something happens, like that's, kind of on you to take the guilt of that. Like, sorry, but if you're feeling guilty for saying to someone to get over it and then something happens to them, like, I'm not going to feel bad for you if that hurts your feelings. I'm trying to keep the sass to a minimum, sorry. Okay. Now, Victoria, wanted to talk about a little bit more because of obviously grand final weekend and what that main focus was on. But because I guess of grand final, they've got the clearest sort of stats and figures and stuff. So this is in the last 12 months for Victoria. Victoria's actually, yeah, still pretty well. I'm pretty happy with how they're going with stuff as well. And I just love the transparency as well. Like, why hide numbers? I'd love to know. I mean, I was trying to find something to show numbers for when someone breaches an order, the percentage that are actually arrested versus just given a fucking summons. And do you think I could find it? No, of course. Why? Like, and if it's not, like, they're meant to arrest people unless they believe that they're not dangerous, which, like, don't know why they get an opinion on that. But, like, if that's the case, then they're making that decision to give people a summons. Like, well, like, why hide it? If you're so, like, certain that you know the right choice to make and, got history on your side or whatever, why hide it? It just seems real convenient. So Victoria in the last 12 months has had 106,427 family violence incidents, which is up 7.7% from the year before. There were 64,713 breaches of orders, which is so 65,000. Oh, right. So it's rounded it up to 65,000, but the actual technical number, 64,713 breaches of orders, which was up 17% from the year before. That's almost 180 breaches a day, just FYI, just to give you a bit of perspective. And every year, the grand final long weekend shows a spike in 2024. So last year, grand final weekend, there were 796 incidents in 3 days, which is 11 an hour. So that's, again, just to give you a little bit more of a concrete idea of how frequently that is. New South Wales. Okay. So New South Wales has about 100,000 ADVOs active at one time, but the state's own review team says 1 in 5 are breached. And in 23% of partner homicides, a current ADVO was in force. Okay. On state of origin nights, assaults rose by up to 40%. And that's for family violence specifically. I'm just reading through this, sorry. Yeah, right. Okay. So it's just like that's a substantial amount of ADVOs in force, like at once for one state, 100,000. Holy crap. I think the point of that stat was to point out that 1 in 5 of them are breached. So it just clearly they're not working. And then with the Brisbane one that we heard about this morning on the news for that doctor, Tiffany Wilkes, I think that's how you say it, and her 8-year-old daughter, they were found dead in an Airbnb. There's obviously not much info out yet about prior, like if there was prior abuse or whatever with like an ex or no ex or whatever. So I'm only mentioning stuff that's like proven fact because there's no point going with um, speculation, especially when people have died. So they were found in an Airbnb, which is interesting. I think I read actually it was like a really expensive Airbnb. Obviously, she was a doctor though, so I was just thinking out loud. Police treating it as a murder suicide. There were no orders. Here we go. No orders and no prior DV history. And that's the point. Not every killing shows up in the system. Sometimes there are no files or warnings. So that's where like it shits me when people are like, oh, like, there's no history though, or could he really have done that because, it wasn't ever reported before or hasn't been charged before. First of all, that you know of, there's a lot that I learned after everything. That probably would have stopped mostly everything if I had known beforehand. So don't believe everything you're told. That's to everybody that knows the perpetrators, including their friends. But also, lost my train of thought there. Oh, it just like you won't necessarily see a trail of like what's happened, and then also like there's plea deals and shit that happen. So just because this person's not got a criminal history or record or whatever, like for specifically for family violence, does not mean that they haven't done it before. I mean, anyway, that's sort of what the whole serial family violence register thing is about. Which luckily, I guess, not in my case, but luckily happened as an outcome from my case. So at least the next person's going to be happy. You're welcome. So WA recorded more than 42,000 family and domestic violence offences last year. Whoa. Which is 18% increase from the year before, and that's 115 a day. 42,000. Holy shit. 115 a day. That's insane. Holy crap. And then we know the Northern Territory obviously is quite a lot, and that is 42,000 as well. Occurrences in 2024 in a population of 250,000. Holy crap. In July 2025 alone, so a couple months ago, police recorded 515 DV assaults, which is one every 90 minutes. Holy hell. In the ACT, 43.5% of all assaults are DV related, nearly half. Nationally, 38% of all homicides are family violence homicides. And that's without counting suicides, road crashes used as weapons, or cases charged as manslaughter or dangerous driving instead of murder. Which is a lot, by the way. Which leads me to my next topic, cars as weapons. Okay. So I think I'm yet to speak to anybody who has gone through family violence who's not being subject to road rage of some sort, reckless driving, dangerous driving by the perpetrator. They're renowned for it. It's definitely like an intimidation tactic. So first of all, I just want to say if anyone's watching right now that is experiencing that, and hasn't been able to escape or been able to speak out, or has maybe just been dismissing it to themselves, been there. I've done the exact same thing and tried very hard to dismiss it. It's absolutely a red flag, 100%. Like, whatever your gut's telling you about that, believe it. It's true. And there's been some horrific cases. Sherelle Moody, who I've mentioned before, has talked a bit about this in one of her podcasts as well. Um, there's so many unaccounted for, like, homicides going on because they're classed as something else. Even here, so in Tassie, Jackie Purden was killed when her partner ran her down. He was convicted of manslaughter. And so manslaughter is like where they've killed the person, but they didn't mean to. Homicide, obviously, there's intent to do it. And then obviously Jarry Wise, huge one that I'm sure most people in Tassie would have heard about. Killed in a car crash caused by his partner, who was convicted of dangerous driving. Neither shows up in the femicide stats, like the one on or in the national data, I suppose. It does on Sherelle Moody's website though. She's got a femicide watch map, and it's incredible and very, very difficult to go through. But if you want the accurate stuff, that's where you want to go, which is the Red Heart Foundation. Okay. So I'm pretty sure with Jari, like, the chick got out anyway, or didn't even get locked up or something. I have to look it up now, sorry. ADHD brain. Yeah, because there was no evidence. Oh, evidence, man. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure she walked. But then if she was convicted. Not convicted. Not convicted, but pleaded guilty to the driving offences. Sentenced to 14 months in jail with 6 months suspended. How is that not convicted? For dangerous driving, drink driving, and failing to stop. The court could not rule out that Mr. Wise jumped in front of it's a speeding car. Oh, that's like another one that I heard Sherelle talking about. They tried to, like, claim this girl like committed suicide by jumping out of the car when it was, like, so clearly it was the husband, I guess, pushing her or whatever. I don't know how. Yeah. It's happening too much. Anyway. All right. So anyway, to sum up, orders don't guarantee safety. In a lot of cases, they're pretty bullshit. Monitors are not applied fairly or consistently. If they were, I think there would definitely be a lot less incidents, breaches, and deaths, like, if they were used properly. I can't remember where the freaking thing cut out, so I don't know how much I've yapped on about this already, but I know if I haven't, just in case I haven't, in Victoria, they are sorry if I have talked about this. In Victoria, they have just released a new, I guess, legislation or, like, rules around if someone breaches their order, they get arrested, and then usually, as so many of us know, they get given a lawyer, and then the lawyer will talk some shit to get them bailed. In Victoria, though, if this is like a multiple offender, like they've breached several times, especially an order, like, which is kind of how it should be, right? Like, if they've got an order and then they're breaching that order, like, they're clearly showing that they don't respect the order or the people, and, like, or the people that enforce them, which is, ironic sometimes. But anyway, sorry. So in Victoria, yep. So they are now making it so that when they're arrested, if they've breached, they no longer get representation. They have to front a judge without a lawyer. which is fucking sick. I already think it's messed up that I think like if someone is given like the first instance or like they're first arrested or given like an order, like fair enough, they deserve to have a lawyer. If they are consistently breaching, if they have like a criminal history, whether it's charged or not, or dropped in a freaking plea deal, whatever, like they shouldn't be given a lawyer. Like if the victims aren't given a lawyer, why the hell did they get a lawyer? Like where's the fairness in that? It's probably one of the reasons people were too scared to like even report shit because they know that they're just going to get bailed. And anyway, so separation is the most lethal window. So like if you're leaving, obviously make sure that you've got a safety plan. Definitely, if you're in danger, obviously call 000. 1-800-RESPECT is a good one. Lifeline. Um, I was going to read that, but that's probably going to make me cry, so I'm not going to do that. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, look, just please, like if you're in a position, because I've had a few people now reach out who are in this position and they're scared and they're stuck and they know, given our English housing crisis, um, job crisis, our freaking everything crisis, cost of living, they can't leave. They feel like they can't leave and they're terrified and they're literally like surviving day by day. Like there's so many cases. Just please understand, like you definitely can reach out. The family violence support line, I'm going to put all these numbers in the notes as well again. They are great as well. There's always going to be someone that can help, even if they just need to stay on the phone with you for a bit to help you ground yourself, especially if you've got kids. I totally understand. I get it. I know that it is a lot easier said than done when it comes to making that decision to leave because you're worried how it's going to impact them. I can 500 million% tell you that they will be better off for you doing it. Doesn't mean they won't be without trauma. Like, absolutely can attest to that. Probably trauma for the rest of their lives and will be ongoing. It's really like that's another whole thing about resources and stuff, which like we desperately try to reach out for. But if they're underfunded and under resourced, like what are you going to do? Anyway, yes. So I just wanted to say, if that's what you're like stuck on is like, but they're going to miss, the dad or whatever. Like, yeah, they will. And it's going to be shit, but you're the one that's there to be strong for them. It's like they can't do it for themselves. Like, not comparing babies and dogs here, but like, when a dog needs to get put down and it's horrific and they just, give you this look of like, because they know that you're going to have to, and it's the best thing for them. I'm not saying look at your kid like you're going to put them down. I'm just saying like that's an innocent child. And if you are ever questioning it, like I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Trust me, every day is friggin' hard still. I have moments where I like quite regularly question a lot of things and don't understand how the two people marry up between the person I fell in love with and then whatever it is that they are now. Um, it's trying to make logic out of nonsense. Like and that's not great for an ADHD brain. I'll just say it's not really easy to do that. But I can say that like in the long run, they will definitely be better off. Even if the person gets arrested and then bail, like there's going to be ways. It doesn't feel like it, and it feels like a big like hurdle like to go through, and it's like too much. And like there were many times that I was like, no, like I can't. I nearly, felt like it was time to leave, and then I was like, oh, but no, like just reach out. That's what I'm here for. That's what other people are here for. We've got like a couple of groups that I'm not going to be advertising right now. but there are people and groups and support networks that are there ready to help you however you need it. Um, we have to start saving lives and, the babies. We have to look after our children. Um, you know, uh, if there's not going to be accountability ever taken, like, what else is there that we can do other than help them to try to be successful later in life and not live with trauma? Like, it's always going to be better to get them out of there if there's any risk of ongoing trauma, especially in developmental age. Like, holy crap, honestly, only like 3 years, and the damage is hopefully not irreparable, but it's severe um, with my daughter. So anyway, stop now. Um, yeah, look, it is what it is. If there's any more stats that come out about the weekend, I'll let you know. And there's just so much more to go through. But that's going to be it for now. I really just want to get this out so that I can um, get these resources and numbers and stuff out to you guys as well. Please, 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 please like and subscribe, because it's not getting enough exposure if there's not more subscribers. Like, liking it's great, so thank you if you've done that or whatever. But I need you to subscribe. Like, it's free. You don't have to pay anything. It's just I need that in order to then have like the algorithm reach more people. So please, if you could do that, that would be awesome. If you've got any questions, let me know. I'm always contactable on all of the platforms. And I will talk soon. I really, really am keen to get this spicy cadence one done. I'm going to start writing it now. First episode of that one for the neurodivergent stuff. Haven't forgotten. I've got lots that I'm planning, and my freaking brain going to explode. So hopefully going to have that out within a couple of days as well. The first episode. I know I said that last week, but life, you know. Cool. All right. Hope you all have a good night. Look after yourselves. Be safe. Reach out if you need anything. Okay. Bye.